Hey guys, Specter here, and in today's video, I'll be showing you how to create a kinetic wave effect using Blender just like in the intro in the video. So the first thing you're going to do is open up Blender. I'm using Blender 3.4. Just click anywhere outside of the splash page. First, start off by removing everything already as default, and then hit Shift and A, and then Mash, and then Plane, then hit S, and then scale it up to number 8. So on the keypad, hit 8. Before we proceed, you will need an SVG image, specifically a 2D image, but if you don't have that, you can create a text and then just use that along the way. So then go to File, then Import, and then hit Scalable Vector Graphics, and then go over to your folder wherever you have your vector image. For this example, I'll be using my third eye alien, and then zoom in and select everything, and then hit Control and J. Sometimes it doesn't work and you have to do this multiple times. So go over to the right column and then select curve, and with shift select the rest and then hit Control J. And if that doesn't work, try one more time by selecting everything with the mouse and then Control J, and there you have it. Then go over to Object Data Properties and Geometry and increase the extrude. Do a 0.1 for now because we will be changing this later. Then select your plane again and show it. Then select your plane, hit tab, and then right click, subdivide, and you will see a subdivide window here coming up, and then where it says number of cuts, do 10. Then you'll see a grid of lines coming up. Then hit tab again, then hit the plane again, then do Control A, and then hit scale. Then select the plane and the SVG image, then hit Control P, then go to where it says vertex, and then go to Object Data Properties, then hit instancing, and then faces. And you'll notice that the field now has a bunch of your SVG vector image. And then select specifically the SVG file, right click, and then set origin to center of mass. And then where it says location, make it 0. So on all of them, X, Y, Z. That way they're aligned properly. Then zoom in and then hit your curve and then hit S and start scaling up your image just enough to where they're about to touch. And you might have to zoom in and pan over. That's good enough. Then click on the plane, go over to your blue wrench, add a modifier, and then go to generate and then subdivision surface. And it's gonna look really crazy, but we'll fix it. And on levels viewport, hit 3. Also on render. Then go back to your SVG, hit S, and start scaling down. And you're gonna have to zoom in to see what's going on. And just like before, do it to enough where they're touching. Then hit your alien on the curve over here in the right tab, right click, and then do shade smooth. Then go over to your plane and then uncheck viewport and render. That way the plane removes and it's only just the SVG file. Then hit your plane, go over to the blue wrench, add a modifier, and on deform hit displace, and you'll notice that now the SVG file kind of lifted up and started levitating. Then go over to where it says displace and then hit new and leave it as texture. Then go over to your checkered board down here, and then where it says image or movie, switch this over to clouds, and you'll notice that the SVG file now is having its pattern. Now start increasing the size all the way up to 2, and the depth as well, leave it at 2, and go over back to the modifier, and the strength, mark it up as 2 as well. And you'll notice even more of the effect starting to appear. And then go over to where it says coordinates, and then change this to object. Now with shift and A, add an empty cube. So go to empty and then a cube. Then click on the plane and go over to the blue wrench, and where it says object, click on empty. So now if we move the square, you'll notice that the animation starts to appear. Now we just got to create the animation. Now with the cube selected, do shift A and then go over to curve and then do circle. Now go over to your cube again, then go over to your constraint properties and then add a relationship and follow path. Then where it says target, hit the circle, and then now hit animate path. So when you press the spacebar, you'll notice that you'll have the animation now looped. So now choose a circle and then go over to your object data properties and scroll down to where it says path animation. Bring this down and then set this to 500. And then over here on the bottom on the timeline where it says end, add 500 as well. Now select the cube and then hit N on the keyboard and then bring up your timeline, and where it says 0, hover over on your y-axis and then hit I, and then it's going to add a keyframe already, and then go over to your last frame, and in this instance we set it up to 500, and then over here it switches over to 360, and then hit I again, and then now we have the animation. So now if you go over and then play this, it is now animated on its own. Okay, now we're going to set up a camera. So zoom out, and then with Shift A, go over to where it says camera, and then go over to your object properties and then bring this out. And what you can also do is click N and then have camera to view over here in the view section. And then so now if you go onto your camera, you can start using it like if you're panning around with the mouse button, the middle mouse. And what we want is we want to get close enough and go above the surface. Now if you go over to your object data properties using the camera, you can change the focal length over to 30. And you can change it if you want to, but these are like the settings that I was using. Okay, so now we're going to be going to the shading tab and hit where it says object and then world. Bring this up and then do the Shift A and environment texture. And then align color to color and then open your HDRI. So this might be different for everybody, but I'll be linking down the same HDRI that I used. Then hit open. And if you go over here to your shading section, you can see the sky. Now if you go over to world and then object, and then you go over to your SVG where it says curve, remove this and then hit new and go over to where it says metallic, bring this up, and where it says roughness, bring this down. And then for this scenario, we'll be using the magenta color. Okay, now go over to layout and then go over to your render section. Then go over to render properties and then turn on ambient occlusion, bloom, and then screen space reflections. And then go over to your output properties. And then where it says output, look for the place where you want to have this rendered at. And then go where it says file format, do FFmpeg video. And then go where it says encoding and container, do MPEG-4. And where it says output quality, do high quality or whichever one you want. And then it's up to you for the format if you want to do frame rate of 60. I like to do 60 FPS. And then for the resolution, if you want to do, let's say, for example, like a Instagram reel, just swap this. So instead of saying 1920, do 1080. And then over here, 1920. But I'm going to leave it as 1080p. Okay, so now head over to your SVG file. And then go over to data properties. And then set this down to 0.15. Okay, now go over to your SVG file. And then go down to where it says object data properties. And then go to extrude. And then set your SVG down to 0.15. And that way it looks less thick. And move your camera around. Now head on over to your cube and then scale this down. Then go over to your plane, click it, and then go over to the blue wrench and then start messing around with the strength. Adjust it to your liking and then increase the mid-level or decrease it, up to you. And then so if you start playing the animation, you get to kind of see where you want the animation to head. Now go over to your camera and set one frame. Adjust it closely, so on the location on the Y. And then go over all the way to the ending of the frame, 500. And then start increasing all the way straight ahead. And then do another keyframe there. So now when you start playing, you'll notice that the camera will start moving forward. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start making adjustments to the camera. So that way it pans over to the left and then to the right. And also it has a different rotation, a different angle. Okay, let's adjust the camera panels now. So when you're going to be moving your animation and your camera, make sure to adjust where you want to start and then where you want to finish. So now that you already completed the moving forward, back and forth, you can adjust the different types of rotation. So we want to start off a little slanted towards the left. So we add a keyframe here. And I want to do, let's say, let's do 30. And it's not marked yet, so make sure it's marked. And then go over to 166. And let's do, and as you're going up on a different keyframes, make sure to select the keyframe. So for Y, you're going to have to keep on selecting it. And for Z, let's do the opposite. Let's do -20. And then select the keyframe. So now on the 332 frame, make sure to use the same coordinates that you did on the very first frame. So that would be 30. And then select the keyframe and then the one above as well. And then now on the last frame, it was -20. Now we can go back and we can watch the animation going. I don't really like the very first frame, so I'm going to adjust it. So I'm going to go forward and remove the last original frame. There you go. Okay, when you're ready and you've adjusted again your keyframes and everything, do right click, interpolation, and linear. And when you're ready, just click on Control and then F12. And you should start rendering your video, your animations. Just a disclaimer, if you notice that your render came out a little too fast, like it's moving just a little bit, maybe not how you like it, you can hit S on the plane and increase the scale. And then on the curve, which is the SVG, just increase it. That way it also scales up together with the plane. And just give it another go. That way it doesn't look too off. What you can do too is just go over to your output properties. And where it says time stretching, make this into 200. And if you're at 60 FPS, it'll look smoother. If not, you can always just tune it down to 30 FPS. And there you have it. That was how to create a kinetic effect using Blender using 2D images. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. And also follow me on Instagram. It's specter.gfx. I'll leave all the links in the description. And also don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.